Hey there. So I am back, and instead of saying that I don't have the time to make this video, I am multitasking. So I am going to be prepping my breakfast and lunch for tomorrow while I'm making this video. And seeing as how I am prepping breakfast and lunch, I am going to do a little quick video about creating your food manifesto or your eating habits manifesto. So I mentioned in an earlier video that I, in the past, have had some issues with eating. Now it's not, I can't say that I've had an eating disorder, and that is something that people who experience eating disorders definitely take medical advice from professionals. I'm not one of those at all. So I haven't had a specific eating disorder, though I did think at one point I had orthorexia. And I confirmed with my therapist that it was just anxiety that was causing a lot of the eating behaviors and patterns that I had versus having an actual eating disorder. For anyone who doesn't know, orthorexia is an eating disorder where someone is obsessive about eating healthy to the point where they are denying themselves access to nutrients by removing more and more things from their diet. So there was a point where I had a life goal of being a vegan, and I already since 2008 stopped eating beef, stopped eating pork, and then around 2012 started to move into the gluten-free realm. And then as I was aspiring to be vegan, I started to become vegetarian and cut out meat. And then obviously with veganism, you don't eat eggs or honey. And then being a fan of learning about just learning about food habits in general, I started to cut out grains. And so at the end of the day, and then there was a fear of cooking vegetables and food in fear of losing all the nutrients. So at one point in my life, I was only eating green leafy vegetables, and I wasn't really eating fruit because I was afraid of getting too much sugar. So I was like practically starving every day. But in conversations with my therapist and bringing to her, my fears of having this eating disorder, she was saying she asked me a really important question that people typically don't ask you. People may ask you, why do you eat the way you do? Or why don't you eat certain things? But people don't go a step further. So obviously people ask you, why are you doing whatever you want? And for me, the answer is obviously, I want to be healthy. Like, who doesn't want to be healthy? And the second question that my therapist asked was like, which you would think that you would want to know the answer to this, but I didn't think about it until she asked me. She asked me, well, why do you want to be healthy? And I was like, well, I know health relates to my well-being and how I feel. And when I don't eat well, I feel sad and may have, mood swings because of PMDD symptoms and things like that. My cycle may spiral out of control. I may be depressive for a week, and then once I'm depressed, I'm depressed, and then it'll take a week to get back on track. And so, I don't want to go through any of that. Let me just eat spinach. And then there was a secondary thought of, I also want to be healthy because I want to be a mom. That's one of my biggest aspirations in life, is to be a mother, and I want to prepare my body to be as healthy and fit as possible so that I can endure natural childbirth trouble-free. And so she's like, is that something you're thinking about every time you're making food choices? And the answer was yes. Like, every single time I look at that point in my life, every single time I looked at a piece of candy or a piece of bread or, organic, free-range, no GMO salmon, I was like, but will that make me not a great mother? It's like this existential crisis happening every time it was dinner time or breakfast time. Anytime it was time for a meal, family events were like this big ordeal in my mind, because I was like, oh my gosh, my family's gonna think something's wrong with me, which they did, and rightfully so, because I did lose a lot of weight. I lost a lot of weight during that time where I was cutting like almost everything out of my diet. and not a lot of weight. Like I looked emaciated, but my normal average is about somewhere between 120 and 125, and I dropped down to 115. So I lost 10 pounds, which most people are like, oh, I wish I could lose 10 pounds. But I dropped 10 pounds, and everybody in my family was like, you look like you're dying. Anywho. So, didn't have orthorexia, but definitely had anxiety about food, and it was spiraling out of control because there's so much of our society, our societal interactions that are tied to food, or at least in my family. Every time there's a celebration, food is there. Every time something's going bad, someone wants to give you food to make you feel better. And I recognized through conversations with my therapist and doing my own self-evaluation and work that I was using food. I was an emotional eater, and I can't say that I'm not anymore. I still definitely think about food during different emotional states. It's not as bad now, but I was eating to fill a void for certain emotions, and primarily the primary source of emotional eating was eating to belong and eating for fun. So eating to belong looks like going to a family barbecue, not wanting to eat cake, but eating cake because you don't want your family to ask you why you aren't eating cake, which I have done so much. It's really annoying. Or it looks like going to a meeting at a restaurant, not really being hungry, but ordering a big plate because the other people who are there with you are ordering big plates, instead of just ordering like a drink or something. And by drink, I mean like a lemonade or water. You don't have to eat or drink anything if you aren't hungry or thirsty, right? Eating to belong could be someone brings in cookies at work and everyone's gathered around saying, oh, this person bakes the best cookies. And you feeling like you need to eat a cookie because everyone else in the office is complimenting your coworker on their great baking. But you're gluten-free. So why the F are you eating cookies? Like, that's eating to belong. So that's a category that I've fallen into over and over. The other is eating for fun. Food can be fun. It should not be your source for fun. So if you feel like, oh man, I'm bored, what should I do? And the answer that comes to mind is, I wonder if there's some chips in the house. That's not what food is for, right? Food is to nourish you, is to keep you alive, is to sustain you and give you energy. And if it so happens that you're having fun eating something in the process, you know, if you're mindfully eating, you're enjoying the food that you're eating and it's fueling you, and you're doing that for nutrition, you're doing it for energy, that's one thing. Like, I have fun sometimes drinking my smoothies in the morning because they're delicious. However, and I can say, I'm guilty of doing this tonight, watching some TV, which is another fun trap, because TV is not actually actively fun. You don't write home about all the great TV shows you watch, unless it's like Westworld. But, you know, I was watching TV and I started eating popcorn just for, like, additional fun. And now my stomach feels a little crappy. Mood-wise, I'm just like, still not like having the time of my life, right? This is actually more fun than watching TV and eating popcorn. But I'm gonna grab some water. I'm a little thirsty. But yeah, food has been this thing for me, and so in an effort to make it not a thing, working on creating some just guidelines. They're not hard, fast rules, because hard, fast rules for me create anxiety. When I'm like, I can't eat this, it's when it brings in feelings of lack. And for me, it's not necessarily using willpower, because that's a muscle that can be worn out. It's not necessarily denying myself things as much as it is showing myself love using food. So showing my body, my organs, my skin, how much I love them with food. And genuinely being aware of the emotional response that I have to eating certain things. And this is actually something that I've learned while doing the Wild Fit diet, or the Wild Fit 90-day challenge through Mind Valley. is to think about the way you feel before, during, and after eating something. Typically, the food I think of as fun, before I eat, I'm like, oh, it'll be fun to have some chips or some popcorn or whatever. While I'm eating it, it's amazing. It's so fun. I'm like, oh. And then as I start to get past the second or third bite, I'm like, oh. That first bite was fun, but now my tongue is like, it's cool. My mouth is tired. Typically, the things that aren't really fun are like hard and processed, and so my mouth gets all cut up sometimes eating certain things. And then at the end of it, I'm just like, why did I do that? I feel stupid. Versus something that always feels like it will not be fun. I consciously experience this when I go to restaurants. I'm not multitasking at all, which is another video because multitasking isn't a real thing. One thing at a time. Anyways, I go to a restaurant and I think, how do I get the most bang for my buck? What can I buy at this restaurant that will give me the most satisfying feeling and make me feel alive? Which is not the role of food. It's not to make you feel alive. It's to keep you alive. But I still ask myself this sometimes. I go like, ooh, what will make me excited when I order? What will be fun to eat? And what's something that I can't make at home? Because for some reason that's the criteria of eating restaurant food. And so I think, oh, well, it can't be the salad, because I can make salads at home. But every single freaking time, maybe with the exception of once, every time in my life that I've ever ordered a salad at a restaurant, it's been delicious. It's been satisfying. I had fun eating it because it's fun to eat out and be in a different environment, especially if you're dining with friends or your loved one. And then I don't regret it afterwards. And I think, wow, that was a great date. I sat with a person. I ate this delicious, healthy thing. Now I feel like I have energy after eating it. What else can we do tonight? Let's go do, and so after I eat like something crappy, like order nachos, I have fun afterwards. I'm like, oh, I want to go home and lay in the bed. Oh, my life. Why did I make those choices? So, let me share with you my food affirmations because this video is getting kind of long. I could talk to you all day. So these are my eating testaments, my top eating testaments, essentially. So they look like this. They're on my refrigerator. I probably should take them on the go with me when I'm going to restaurants, but they kind of in the back of my head because I look at them every time I open the fridge. So the first is, I honor and respect my body by eating clean and healthy. My love for myself shines through my eating habits. I trust myself. That was a big part of shifting my eating behaviors, is actually trusting myself and my choices, and knowing that if I ate something that felt out of alignment, I trust myself to get back on the bandwagon. Because at one point I was like, I don't trust myself, so I'm not going to eat anything that can, it was a weird feeling. But I trust myself with my health and well-being. I am enough. I have the will and discipline to eat what serves me. Will and discipline to eat what serves me. My joy is more important than any snack. That's the thing that still working to remember. My joy is more important than any snack. Because snack has this feeling, there's this childhood association with candy or ice cream or whatever, that it'll bring joy, because typically those things are around during joyous times, birthday parties, celebrations, opening a pinata, whatever. But it doesn't actually give me joy, right? I am my own source of joy, or being mindful is a source of joy. Being grateful is a source of joy. Snacks are not a source of joy. They are a temporary distraction from your dissatisfaction in life. Unless it's a healthy snack like celery and sun butter, which in that case, it's amazing. I am a mindful eater and make good decisions about the foods I eat. I am sweet and sugar-free. My past eating habits are behind me. So I'm still in the journey to make these testaments absolute for me, I should say. So I do eat clean and healthy on a majority of days during the week. I drink a smoothie pretty much every day. I eat a salad now pretty much every day. I let the nighttime decisions sort of do what they may. So it's a journey for me, but at least I have some guideposts for the journey that are safe for me, but also push me outside of my comfort zone. Like saying that I'm sugar-free, that is still outside of my comfort zone, still outside of my norm. I do realize that I still have a tiny bit of addiction to sugar, even though I don't crave it. When it's I think belonging is where sugar comes in for me. It's like when sugar is, because I'm not buying it for the house. I'm not even a big fruit person. But when I'm out at something and sugar is present and other people are partaking in sugar, then for me it's like, it's almost like people who socially drink or socially smoke. I am a social sugar addict. When I'm out in public and someone offers me candy, I'm like, sure. Alright, I've talked enough in this video about random stuff, whatever. I thank you for listening, and I hope you have a beautiful night.